And I know you're a man of faith, and how
Mhm.
did you use your faith to get where you are today?
Well, it's ultimately gotten me everywhere that I've been in my life. And, I became a Christian back when I was a junior in high school. Then I went to college and had to really, like every college student, you have to decide what you're going to do with that faith. Are you going to continue to pursue it? Or are you going to allow the world and, allow our secular society to influence your life and your decisions? And I
Yeah,
decided I wanted to keep my life based in Christ, and keep my life based on the truth. And it doesn't mean that it was, it's been a 100% smooth ride ever since I made that decision, but definitely the best one I could have made, because it does impact all of our lives, and it ultimately is based on truth. In a world where we're constantly bombarded with different philosophies and mindsets, people nowadays think that just because they feel something that it must be true, and that is absolutely not the right way to live your life. We cannot live our lives based on feelings. And a good example I'll give you is that if you go to a movie and let's say a horror movie, and you're feeling, well, you're sitting there watching the movie, and also and then you're terrified,
yeah,
and just but what the feeling of terror that you're seeing, it's an emotion. What you're seeing is based on what you're seeing on the screen,
yeah,
but there's no reality to that. But yet in our society today, we're basing a lot of the decisions we make and a lot of subjective truth based on our emotions, and that is a very, very, at best it's a very dangerous way to live your life, because then you will easily lose your grounding in what true reality is. So definitely the faith component has given me a grounding that I would not have otherwise had
yeah.
without it.
Okay. Were you going through something personal at that time as a junior that made you decide to go to
Uh,
Christianity, or no?
no, not really. I was just going to a good church. I had a very good pastor who was very good about just explaining truth. And
Yeah,
I quickly learned that no amount of church going, no amount of Sunday schooling, no amount of church choir singing or whatever was actually going to be what it took to get me into heaven. And the only thing that would get me into heaven is a solid faith in Christ, knowing that only He could do for me, which I could not do for myself, which was live a good enough life. Or in his case, obviously, he lived a perfect life in order to get me, you know, back in relationship with God, and then which will ultimately one day result in me being able to go to heaven. So it just made sense. Good pastor, and then I, even at that time as a junior in high school, I had to decide, well, all this churching that I've been doing all these years, living with my parents, what am I going to do with it? So I even made that decision back then, that I was going to take it seriously. And then that, I think, helped pave the way to me taking it seriously later in life when I went to college.